Securities Investor Protection Corporation is referred to as the SIPC. Now, what it does is it's charged to return securities to investors, not if you lose your investment just because the value of it goes down, but if you lose your investment thanks to fraud or when a firm collapses. This topic had actually come up when Lehman Brothers was falling apart. A lot of people had these questions. But when we talk about the Bernie Madoff scam, the SIPC is front and center. Will investors get anything back? Is there the money to pay them? Here with us now, Stephen Harbeck, Chief Executive of the SIPC. Mr. Harbeck, if you could just explain, first of all, so our viewers can understand, in a way like the FDIC, you are basically provide some sort of insurance, right, for a certain amount of assets or securities. But you only pay that out if the securities lose their value due to fraud, right?
We pay customers if their securities are missing from the brokerage firm. You're absolutely correct. We don't protect against a decline in value, but if you believe you have a portfolio of securities or cash in your account, it is our job within statutory limits to get you your portfolio back. And
up to what value? Is there a limit?
The maximum amount that SIPC can advance is $500,000 to reconstitute a securities portfolio with a maximum of $100,000 of that $500,000 based upon a claim for cash. Customers can receive more if the trustee recovers other assets for a common pool known as customer property.
But the issue is here, and I know Mark will have several questions, but I just want to make sure we lay out the facts. The issue is that you're funded basically as different to the FDIC, right, which is a federal government funded program. You're funded by basically fees from fund management companies, so you don't have as much money.
Our fees are based on brokerage firms that are registered as such with the SEC. We have $1.6 billion. We have a confirmed line of credit with an international consortium of banks, and we have a $1 billion line of credit with the United States Treasury.
Well, will you be wiped out by the Madoff scandal?
We don't know. And the fact is that there is a cap on how much we can advance to any one individual investor. So given that cap, it's not clear that all of our funds will be exhausted.
Can you tell us where we stand or where you stand in terms of locating and actually getting a hold of liquid assets from Madoff?
The trustee's identified or has in hand $29 million worth of assets, and he's located an additional $830 million worth of assets. The number $50 billion that you hear includes the inflated profits that Madoff told his investors, which never really existed.
So how much do you think, and I'm not talking about how much money you have, you said you have $1.6 billion, but how much do you think people might come to you and ask for? Do you have any idea what that number could be?
We don't, and we've modified our usual claim form to ask investors a question that's unique to this case, which is how much money did you put in and how much money did you take out? Because the nature of this scheme is much more of a Ponzi scheme than just a straight theft of assets.
So if someone put in $1 million, say 20 years ago, and has taken out $1 million over the last 20 years, even though they think they've lost, who knows, 10, 20 million, whatever Madoff told them they had, they really haven't lost anything, have they?
Well, net they have not, but, you know, there are competing customer interests here. The customer who's been in for a long term and the customer who just put money in, and this literally happened a week before the failure. Those customers have competing and very different interests, and we're going to try to balance them out.
I don't see how you can do that.
Well, in some instances,
if you do that, you're inherently in a conflict of interest.
Well, the customers are in conflicts with each other.
Right. So no one can represent the customers who are in conflict with each other.
Well, we'll try to come to a solution that is the greatest good for the greatest number.
All right. So when you talk about locating the security, to this point when you said if someone puts in $1 million, gets $1 million, and they got $1 million, but all of this was based on securities that never existed to begin with, right? What is that? What is the significance of that? Because now you're saying you're only paying people back for securities that don't exist now, right?
Well, that's why we'd like to know, just from a starting point, and the best source of this is the customers themselves, how much money they have put into this scheme and how much money they took out.
But here I think is the important point, which I want to make sure everyone understands. Under your rules and under your charter, under your obligation, if someone put $1 million in and over the course of time took $1 million out, and everything else they were told they had was actually fraudulent. You are not responsible for the fraudulent securities, correct?
Well, the answer to that legally simply isn't clear. We're meeting with the SEC staff tomorrow to try to hammer out as I said, the greatest good for the greatest number under the law.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Harbeck, thank you very much.